The Accountants too. So I'm not sure about you guys. I'm not sure whether you guys remember much about The Accountant one. How much do you guys remember much about The Accountant one?
Well, I thought I hadn't seen it, and then I started watching it again earlier today and realised I had seen it.
Yeah.
So I still don't remember all of it because I haven't finished watching it, and not because I didn't enjoy it, but just because I am getting old and my memory is less good. Um,
No, but,
so it turns out, yes, I have seen it, and I remember more about it than I realised, which I didn't realise until I turned it on and started watching. I was like, yes,
no,
I
but that
remember
is
lots about this film.
no, but that's the thing. I think, right? I think that encapsulates the thing of watching The Accountant. You enjoy while you're watching it, and it almost leaves your head immediately after you finish watching it. If anybody asks
Yeah.
you, "What was The Accountant about?" Like, "Oh, it was all right. It was all right." What happened in
You're
it?
right. Yeah.
There was a bit with Ben Affleck, and there was a bit with John Bernthal, and meh, I can't really
And
remember.
John Lithgow, John Lithgow, and
You see,
Anna
that's the thing.
Kendrick. I mean,
Totally
yeah.
forgot. Totally forgot that John Lithgow was in that movie. I was like, was it John Lithgow? Was it Jeremy Irons? And the way The Accountant 2 starts, because The Accountant 2 starts with J.K. Simmons, and you're watching it, and the way you're watching, you're going, okay, they're treating this guy like he was a character who was in the last film, and I do not remember him. I don't remember him being in the last film. There is a character, like the character who sort of has taken over J.K. Simmons' old job, who is the her last name is Medina, and I'm like, was she in the last film? Because I don't remember her being in the last film. So I remember in Shades about but I think honestly, if you haven't seen The Accountant, I don't think you have to have seen The Accountant to see The Accountant too. I feel like this is like a
You don't.
perfectly different standalone film. So the film starts off and you're
I
introduced.
did not, as I say, I didn't know I'd seen it. I watched it,
Yeah.
and I watched all of The Accountant too, thinking I hadn't seen The Accountant. Um, and then it turns out I had, and I didn't realise that until I started watching it again afterwards. So I would say you're fine watching it
I think you're
as a
fine. You're
standalone
you're
film.
fine going into this film. What you need to know is that you have Ben Affleck. He plays a character called Christian Wolf, who is an accountant, and he's an accountant for possibly, shall we say, dodgy people. And on the side, he is also like one of the world's greatest hitmen, as you do, like dangerous accountant. And in this film, somebody in the first film gets killed. And when he gets killed, he writes on his arm, "Find the accountant," which leads this trail of people to sort of like get Ben Affleck back on board. You have Ben Affleck, and he has a brother who is played by John Bernthal called Braxton, who he calls up, and because of in the first film they go into the childhood and they talk about like who their dad was. So essentially, their dad kind of like created two stone cold killers. And so these people are like the people who you want when you want somebody dead. And when you want a whole bunch of people dead and like blah 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 blah. So on and so forth. And that's the excuse for a plot. And then it carries on and it carries on. And I think this film, there is one particular scene, and it's the scene where you first meet John Bernthal, where this film kind of switches gears, and you can feel the film switching gears, where it starts off like going like action movie, ooh thriller. This is what's gonna happen. Oh, are we gonna do this? Are we gonna who are the bad guys that we need to shoot in the face? How are we gonna find them? How are we gonna track them down? And how are we gonna uphold justice for the day? And then that scene happens with John Bernthal, and all of a sudden you're like, hang on, did we just walk into a different film here? and it becomes
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
Of course,
yeah. Sorry, what?
and it was quite funny.
It
And
was
it was
quite
quite
funny.
funny.
It was quite funny because and that's the film. It starts becoming like a thing, and then the film becomes almost like a buddy cop movie, or like not buddy cop, but a buddy movie between Ben Affleck and John Bernthal, who are essentially going along and trying to figure out some familial stuff while shooting people in the face, and that is generally what it is. That's generally what you're dealing with the film. What did you guys think?
Okay. Well, I think for me, John Bernthal, much as I think he's all right, he just plays this. I've never seen him. Every expression he uses is the same in everything he's ever played in, be it the Punisher series, be it Fury, and he tries that sad. I don't know. He's got a mannerism where he tries to. For me, I don't know. I don't. I can. I've never taken. He's not as bad as Tukey, but I've never really taken to him. And I think he just plays the same character, the Punisher character in everything he's done. Walking Dead, as I say, the Punisher. He does that one. There's a bit where he's got like a pen or something, and he goes and he scratches like this, and like tries to go deep in thought and do some sort of method acting that doesn't work. Anyway, so yeah, that's John Bernthal. So. Yeah, it follows a pretty standard scene. I mean, I quite enjoyed the start of it. I quite enjoyed, but then it's like a lot of these films, they go a bit daft at the end.
Yeah.
I know it would have been cruel, but everything's just like in the nick of time, and everything's just nice.
Yes.
Buddy.
It is a throwback to one of those films where like, you know, everybody gets saved just at the nick of time, kind of thing. Yeah.
Just in the nick of time. Just whereas, you know, people would just be spraying machine guns all over the place like they were doing when they were in compound, you know, and it's like, oh, come on. To me, it was a film of two halves. I think they were trying to make him a little bit more in this. They were trying to make, from what compared to the original one, they made him a little bit more, should we say, nicey. They were trying to bring out a different side of him. Whereas in the first Accountant, he's totally.
What you mean to Ben Affleck?
Ben Affleck, yeah. So sorry, I should have said Ben Affleck, the actual accountant. They've tried to soften him. Is that the word? Soften?
Well, yeah, possibly. Well, the first time you see him in this film, he is at a speed dating event, and that was and even when I saw that, I was like, is he working a case? What's going on here? But it seems like they actually played the scene as in no, he's actually in his own way, because it is very, very, it's not even veiled or anything like that, but it's implied that he is on the autism spectrum. He's got Asperger's or something like that. Like that's why he's such a good accountant. That's why he can see patterns and everything like that. That they do. So they do that. So I think that they do try and make him a bit more human and less of a machine in this film. Holly, what did you think?
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was absolutely silly, but well put together.
Yep.
I enjoyed the twists in the plot it was not all predictable by any stretch of the imagination, which it could have been.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was actually you're right, nick of time, but it was a reasonably intelligent plot for something that I was assuming was going to be a fairly, mediocre shooty film.
Yeah.
And it had subtlety to it that I did not think was going to be there. And it had comedy to it that I did not expect was going to be there.
Yep.
And I got to the end and thought, I really liked that. And annoyingly, I expected it to be a film where the one occasion where I had to pop out to the bathroom, it wouldn't matter. I popped out at completely the wrong moment. Completely the wrong moment.
Well, yeah, but I agree with it. I agree with everything you say. I think it's extremely silly. But I think it's a film that knows how silly it is. It knows how silly its premise is. I mean, the fact is, when you get to the point where you're introduced to this school of kids who are somewhere along the spectrum or have like learning needs, and they pretty much have like a CIA base of operations in the basement. And
it's almost like Professor Xavier's school, isn't it?
It's essentially like Professor X's school. When you have that in the basement and like the whole idea that they all have Asperger's, so because they have Asperger's, they're somewhere in the spectrum. Look at all these superpowers. Look what they can do. Now, every actor in that scene actually is on the spectrum. Yeah. So every actor.
That was a good scene, actually. That scene where they were. I did enjoy that. I think
it's clever. It's a very good scene. It's a very clever scene. Everything within that scene is very believable. But the fact that this room exists within the school, that the people who run the school seem to be totally oblivious to, I'm like, okay, cool. Yeah, you're just asking us to just go with it. It's fine. It's cool. And there's a character, so like Cynthia Adai Robinson, who plays Mary Beth Medina. She's along for the ride with the two brothers in this. At this point, I say something that is a bit spoilerific and makes Holly say,
You're going to have to cut this. That bit's going to have to get cut.
So if you would like to hear what it was that I said that was so spoilerific we had to cut it off the show, head to our YouTube channel where there will be a short specifically for the bit of the show where we're talking about The Accountant 2 that got cut out. Although you might want to watch The Accountant 2 first before you watch that bit. Thank you. On to the rest of the show. Yeah, no, but I mean, it's kind of like, okay, fine, I will cut that bit. But I mean, that bit is just kind of like, okay, all I say is there's a character who, at some point in the film, they are trying to tell you it's the same character as somebody in another point in the film, and I'm like, there is no way in hell that works. So it's, but...
Yes, it did. Well, also not.
What?
It worked whilst also not working.
It works if they ask you to suspend your disbelief, and because you're having so much fun in the rest of the film, you willingly suspend it and go, okay, this is just the kind of film that it is. You just have to accept this. It reminds me a bit of like when Sean and I saw the film The Villainess, and we had some serious face blindness, where it was kind of like, oh, wait. Are those two different people? Is that the same person? I don't know. I don't know.
I don't know.
Yeah, it's like
it's an increasing problem I have in a lot of films because I can't tell the difference between young white men. They all look the same to me. It's a real problem. I watch some series and I genuinely have no idea which of you is which.
Oh, you see, no,
absolutely identical.
The problem Sean and I had was actually a lot more problematic because in the current state of the world, because it was a Korean movie and we were struggling to tell two. We're struggling to follow the plot because there was a bit where it has to do with somebody's face and we couldn't figure out what was going on. But anyway, so having said that, how many stars would you give The Accountant to?
Go on then, Holly, I'll let you go first.
I'm giving it 4.
4.
I really liked it. I genuinely got to the end and thought that was a really enjoyable film, and I'm going to watch it again because it is actually a very well structured, well put together film that knows what it is and is better than the 3 stars I was expecting. I genuinely thought it would get in. I thought it was going to be a middle of the road 3-star film, and I was going to be pleased to have watched it. In the same way that I say most things ought to be 3-star films because normal distribution, and it surprised me.
Okay, Sean.
Well, that surprised me as well because I can't agree with your reception of that, I'm afraid. I mean, I thought it was a standard 3 of what goes along, but I didn't think it was, some of the... But anyway, yeah, for me, it was just standard fare. But I mean, the reason I'd probably give it a 3 is because although there was like the Jeep at the end with the thing, there wasn't any of those gratuitous super smash 'em up car chases that I can remember in it.
Sean is like, no car chases, no drone shots. I immediately gives you an extra star.
Yeah, I was expecting. Yeah. That's what I mean. Yeah, so I mean, because you know me with drone shots, and I'm going to do a rant one day on drone shots. I'm going to look at all drone shots and car chases. Yeah,
our next film began with the obligatory drone shot. I watched it getting going.
Yeah, I know that. But, so I'm going to give mine. It's just a standard 3-star. It was silly, and it didn't take itself too seriously. So I had a little bit of forgivingness. But yeah, so 3-star for me.
Yeah, and I'm bang in the middle of the two of you because I was like high 3, low 4. Because I did really have a good time with it. I mean, there are scenes in this that when you try and describe it to other people, you're like, this is great. There's a bit where Ben Affleck goes line dancing. The film stops for him to go line dancing. and you're like, I know. And you're kind of like, well, carry on with the story, but this is actually weirdly enjoyable at the same time. And it's, I mean, there's the kids, the X-Men, the X-Men school of gifted youngsters.
For me, that was the best. That was the best part. Oh, Barry, can you do this? Oh, can you? That was me. That was a great part. And they took control of the computer, and he goes, don't give it away. But, you know what I mean. That was that.
Yeah, but this is so cool. Objectively, when you think about that, that is mental. That whole scene is mental. But it's kind of.
People could probably do that.
Yeah, people can do that. They can definitely do that. All right, cool. So that's it. And so that's a 3, 4, 4, whatever. Somewhere in the